Hi everyone, this is Ike, and this is my first live coding video. Basically, what we'll be doing is just creating a random number guesser. Um, and so there's a lot of other tutorials for Python projects on YouTube, but they're very polished, which is great, but I feel like it sort of makes the divide between experienced programmers and beginners even greater. But actually, I feel like most programmers are usually constantly looking stuff up and don't know what thing to use. They don't just directly type everything in. So I'm going to take you through the entire process of me creating this program, and you'll see how it goes. I have not implemented this before at all, so you'll be seeing me look stuff up and basically just go through the process from scratch. So on the right, you have my Stack Overflow slash Google Any Code tab. And on the left is the Hello World project we made in the first video on this channel. So I'll go ahead and just create a new project. And we'll change the name here. So I'll just say, oh, whoops, have caps lock on. Let's call it number guesser. And I'll put the files in the code folder. We want to create a new virtual environment and then create. And we'll use this window. Okay, so once that loads, we'll see the project view to the left. And if we click down on this, we can see the virtual environment is the only thing in the project directory. We'll close down that and go ahead and create a new file. We'll just call this file guesser. First thing I'll do is increase the font size by a lot. Okay. Now the first thing we'll do is create a main function, and this will act as the entry point to our program. So we'll say def main, and we'll add a pass. A pass just makes it so that the program will still interpret, even though we really have nothing in the function. So for example, if we took this out and tried to run the program, you'll see that we get a syntax error. So the pass just gives us a placeholder, essentially. Okay. I also like to go up to code and reformat just to make things look nice. It didn't do anything there, but once we add some more code, it'll make some changes. And now we'll actually call the main function in the global scope and reformat. And let's run it just to see if everything's working correctly. Okay, process finished with exit code 0, all good. So let's go on to actually making our random number guesser. So I'm going to make a new class for this actually, since we'll have an instance of a random number guessing game. So I'm just going to call this number guesser. And we don't need that. And we'll give this a pass here and a format. The next thing I'll do is I'll actually create an instance of the number guesser class just by saying ng equals number guesser. And we can remove our pass placeholder from the main function and reformat. So let's click run just to make sure things are going well. Perfect. So now we actually want to fill out the number guesser class. So the first thing that we should define is we're trying to guess random numbers. We probably want to give a range of random numbers. So the first thing we need to do here in this class is define the constructor. And this will be the init method. So we'll put a pass there. And now we don't need this placeholder. And reformat. And so the init method is just a constructor, and it's run whenever you instantiate something of the number guesser object. It's run whenever one of these is instantiated. So as I was saying before, we probably want to know what are the bounds for our guessing game. So we need to pass in a low and a high. And immediately, once I started typing that in, you probably noticed that this lit up. It's saying that parameter high unfulfilled and parameter low unfulfilled. So we actually need to supply a high and low to this number guesser object down here, or else it won't know what to put in for these initial values, or for these parameters, I mean. So for this, let's just pass in 0 to 100. Okay, so now we'll actually start filling out the constructor. We can go ahead and take away this pass. What we want to do now, though, is the program or the number guesser should keep track of its low and high. So let's just save these into member variables. So we'll say self.low is equal to the parameter low, and self.high is equal to the parameter high. Then next, I'm thinking that we need another function to actually play the game. So let's define something here called play and give it a pass. And now that we have that set up, I just thought of one more thing we should do here. We know the bounds where the random number could be in, but we actually need to set that random number for play. So what we should do is say self.answer. We'll just call it answer, like the player needs to guess this answer correctly. And this should be a random number between low and high. So now the question comes up, how do we actually pick a random number between this low and high? I know for sure we're actually going to need to import the random library, but I'm kind of blanking on what actually needs to be done to generate a random number between low and high. So let's slide over to the Internet tab and search for what we're looking for. We want to do Python, generate random number, and there's a whole bunch of suggestions. We don't want to do this one since we're only looking at integers. This is a little too general, but actually this seems like what we want. Let's just say between 1 and 100. What I usually like to do is just open up a bunch of tabs from the main page just to see which one is, just to see what they have to say. Might not use all of them. Let's start here. So it says, let's see how to generate a number between 1 and 100. They import random. Looks like they're going to generate 10 random numbers. And they print random.randint 1, 101. So by the lack of parentheses around the print statement, this looks like some Python 2, actually. Oh yeah, 2017. So let's just look up random.randint to get the latest info. So now we'll just go directly to the Python documentation. It's a very long list. We're using 3.8, so let's go there. And we'll just look up randint. And I'll zoom in. It says return a random integer n such that a is less than or equal to n, which is less than or equal to b. So we actually need to, we don't need to pass in something a b value that's 1 larger like they did in this tutorial here. We can actually just go ahead with our low and high. So let's actually go back to the code. We'll just type in random.randint, and we'll just type in low and high. Then let's format. Okay, so now we have a lower bound, an upper bound, an answer that's in between those. And now we can Let's do a quick test. We can just print out the answer that was chosen, just so we see that we're actually picking a random number between our range, which would be in between 0 and 100 inclusive. So let's run this, and we get 85. Let's run it again just to see. We get 63 this time. So we're definitely getting values in between 0 and 100. All right, so now we can delete this print statement and reformat. So now we want to play the game, and basically we want to make it such that the user will keep guessing what the number is until they get it correct, and we'll supply a little bit of feedback, like whether the number that they guess is too high or too low. So first, what we need to do is set up a mechanism to keep getting user guesses. So I'm just going to go with the while true, because we want to keep getting guesses until they get the answer right. So we'll say while true, we'll take the user's guess, and we can use the input function for that. So say please enter your guess. Put a space after that. And the guess that they'll input will be a string. So we actually need to take their guess and convert it to a number so we can compare it to our answer up here. So we'll say guess is equal to int guess. And now guess should be an integer that we can compare to self.answer. We can actually delete this placeholder here. So we'll say if the guess is less than the answer, we'll just print your guess was too low. Please try again. Then we can say else if the guess is greater than the answer, print your guess was too high. Please try again. And finally, the only other case left is if guess is equal to the answer. And in that case, then we know that the user has won. So we'll say print congratulations. You guessed it. And now we can go ahead and actually break out of the while loop. And I'll do a quick reformat. So yeah, let's go ahead and play it and see if it works. Let's do run, guesser. Oh, whoops. So I made a mistake here. We have a play function, but we actually never call it. So we actually need to play. And then reformat. So now let's see if it works. All right, please enter your guess. So I'm gonna go right. First, let's try something that's like outside of the range. It should definitely be too high. Yep, too high. So now let's go right in the middle. That was too low. Okay, so let's go with 75. We'll do it binary search style. 75, still too low. So we'll go with let's see, like 87. Too high. Let's try 81. Still too high. So let's go with 78. Still too high. 77. Perfect. So congratulations, you guessed it, and the program ended as it should. So it looks good. So let me know in the comments if this was useful to you for learning how to program. I really appreciate any feedback, and I'll definitely take it into account in further videos on the channel. Thanks.